Hi there, and welcome to the Unfiltered Solopreneur, the podcast where we share real, unvarnished stories of people who dared to break free from the corporate grind. I'm your host, Nikhil, and I'm passionate about helping solopreneurs like you turn their dreams into reality. Today, we're diving into the world of burnout and balance with Gina Smith, a peak performance coach who's helped countless high achievers transform their lives. Gina will share with us her incredible journey from the military to the corporate world to solopreneurship, revealing both the unexpected challenges and priceless lessons she's discovered along the way. In this episode, you'll learn how to successfully transition from the corporate world to solopreneurship without burning any bridges, why the six figures in 6 months promise might be holding you back, the unexpected lessons about time management and boundary setting that nobody really talks about, a practical approach to maintaining work life balance as a solopreneur, and the one golden nugget of advice Gina wished she'd known when starting out. So if you're ready to break free from the corporate grind and build a business you love, stay tuned. You're going to enjoy this episode. Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Unfiltered Solopreneur. I'm Nikhil Vaish, your host, founder and CEO of Boost Solo. My next guest traded in her button-down suit for a coaching certification, and now she's on a mission to help high achievers transform burnout into balance. Gina, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nikhil. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm excited for our conversation. I'm going to jump right in. So you've had a very interesting set of transitions, right? You started in the military, then you had a long corporate career, and now you've become a peak performance coach. So can you walk us through that journey and what sparked your decision to embark on this solopreneur path?
Sure. Yeah, as you said, I spent some years in the military, left that life and joined corporate life, where I spent the next 35 or so years of my working life. And for most of that time, I was a salesperson, either a sales representative or a regional sales leader. And, I've always been a leader in any job I've had. And my approach to leadership, even before they came up with this term of servant leadership, was really to serve the people I was working with and to be more of a coach than a manager in the kind of military model of leadership. And even when I served in the military, I used that approach to people because I needed to get people. I was like a 23-year-old woman working with 50-year-old men, in a lot of cases needed to help them do what I needed them to do, not just because I had the rank to command it, but also because I needed their cooperation and their participation. So that coaching's been a theme in my life, in terms of how I approach people. And I got introduced to a life coach some years ago, and I really had never thought that people were out there doing individual coaching to ordinary people. You see Ileana or Tony Robbins on television, and you think of those people as life coaches, but you don't think they're ordinary people doing this. And I did some work with her, and as a result of that work, I started thinking ahead to whenever I was going to stop working in corporate, what I'd like to do. What I didn't want to do was just sit around. So I thought, well, let me get certified to be a coach, because I think I'd like to do that as an enterprise after I'm no longer working, to have my own future, to have my own income, and to help people in a different way. In corporate, I help the people assigned to me, and I might have helped other people too that came to me to talk or something, but now I can choose the people I work with and work with them in a way that I'd like to, and for the period of time that I'd like to. So it's a little bit different than a job.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And it sounded to me like you've always been a coach, right? So this
Always been a coach.
seed was always there inside you. So
Yeah.
let me ask you, was the entrepreneurial seed also there? Where did that come from?
I'm not sure the entrepreneurial seed was always there. Because I didn't grow up in a generation where being an entrepreneur was a thing. My father was in the Air Force. My mom was a school teacher. And parents were more like, get a job. Because
Yeah.
from their perspective, that's the way you make a living. That's the way you earn a retirement. That's the way you get insurance. But, I just think I'm influenced by the culture as other people are. So why not have my own business? Why work for somebody else? I could work for a coaching company. I don't really want to do that because then I could have just kept my old job. So
True.
um, I just decided to go out and do my own thing. And I started to meet people. I did get 2 certifications. And in the coaching communities and other communities I've expanded to, I started to meet many, many people who were creating an income and a lifestyle they wanted through coaching.
Right. And I totally relate to that because when I went off on my solopreneur path, my parents were like, "Are you crazy? Giving up a good paying job? Like, what is wrong with you? What are you thinking?" So yeah, I totally get that. It's like we were brought up in a time where my father worked at the same place for like 30 years. So
Right.
and that was the way things were. But yeah, no, I like this new time now.
Yeah. I mean, and people still say that, like, you're going to give up this good paying job for that. But I really didn't want to still be working at my corporate job when I turned 70. I've seen people like, and it's just kind of bad to me unless they just really, really love what they're doing. But most people are just hanging on because they don't know what else to do.
Right. And the unknown is scary, right? So
Yeah.
it is you have to be smart about how you do that.
Yeah.
But we'll come back and talk about that. So
Okay.
now everyone sort of has a picture, right? So when you first started your entrepreneurial journey, what expectations did you have about running your own business and how did that compare with the reality?
Big difference. Because the original training I had about that made it seem a lot easier than it really is. And so, and I had to go back to being a beginner. So I was an expert at what I did in corporate. I could do it with my eyes closed. And all of a sudden I had to go back to being a beginner to learn all of these things. Some of them hard lessons, some of them very expensive lessons, because you just don't really know and understand all the things you need to do to build a business. So I've had to learn a lot, and it's not as easy as we'll give you your formula to get to 6 figures in 6 months. And for most people, it doesn't work that easily or that way. And there are
Yeah.
lots of good people out there selling that idea.
Yeah, very true. And so if when you built it, they didn't come, right? I mean, we went
Yes.
through the same thing too, because that was kind of what we were all told. At least that's what, like you said, a lot of people out there posting on how, 6 days to 6 figures. Yeah.
And people will see how amazing you are, and you'll have clients flowing in the, running to the door. And that's not exactly how it works. And I'm still learning a lot. I'm, starting 3 years into it, and I'm still learning a lot, but I'm starting to figure things out.
Yeah, and at some
And
point I was
what
talking.
it does,
Yeah, go ahead.
it might take you 3 years to start figuring things out.
Right. Yeah, true. And honestly, I think you never stop figuring things out, right? Because every day is a new challenge and there's no department you can pick up the phone and call and say, "Hey, how do you do this?"
And, the sales piece I'm a salesperson, so I got that part. But it's all the other pieces that I realize I have to learn how to do and learn how to manage that were done for me in corporate.
Yeah, true. And that is part of the journey. So, I mean, so let me ask you then, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice during the transition to solopreneurship, what would you tell yourself now?
I would tell myself to slow down. And I would tell myself to pick a track and stick on it for a year. Because what I found myself doing is being in all of these business and corporate communities, there's a lot of shiny objects, a lot of really good people, a lot of really good sales. And you go, oh, I need that. Oh, I need that. Or that direction seems right because this isn't working. So instead of picking a lane and saying, I'm going to stick in this lane, I'm going to learn all the things about this, and I'm going to commit to this for a year and just ignore everything else. That's what I would do because I spent a lot of time and money's rolling around from like this thing to that thing to this thing to that thing because they all seem like the thing. I think what we don't know, the people, those of us who haven't grown up in business, is so the people who are very good salespeople convince you that they have the thing that you're missing, the thing that you need. And if you just do that thing, it will lead you to notoriety or clients flooding into your DMs every, you know, for all kinds of promises. And I've honestly found none of that to be true. It's actually, it's work, people.
Yeah.
I don't think people want to hear that, but it's like, it is actually work to build a business.
Mhm.
And it is as much or sometimes maybe more work than you would in corporate because of all the things you now have to do for yourself.
True. And that's why we call the unfiltered solopreneur. So don't worry, the people who tune in here do want to hear that.
Okay, yeah. No, it's actually work, so, but in exchange, I do have freedom. One of the things that grounded me in corporate was this whole vacation concept and this whole time off concept. And depending on what company you're with, like the last company I was with, wonderful company, wonderful people. They were a European company. They had these stingy vacation. Like you maxed out at 3 weeks of vacation. And we're like, what is that?
Yeah.
And especially with the ability to work remotely or something like you can't have any slip on that. You can't have more time than that. But I have freedom over my time now. So I'm a cyclist. That's one of my big hobbies. If I want to take a week off to go on a cycling trip, I can do that. I don't have to worry about not having enough time. I don't have to worry about my boss wanting me to get on calls or anything. I do have that freedom.
True. Yeah, it is a balancing act in that way, right? So
Yeah.
I agree. So you touched on something a few minutes ago, which I want to go back to, which is you talked about having a marketing department, right? Which obviously you don't now. So I want to talk a little bit about, so how did you rebrand yourself after leaving sort of the more rigid corporate world to this much more, you know, I would say, I forget, I'm losing my words, but how did you initially position yourself as a coach in what is a very crowded market? And how did you establish your brand?
So I have 2 certifications. One certification is as a health coach. The other certification is as a transformation. And I mesh those two together along with my business experience for peak performance. So my initial, out of the gate, I marketed myself as a health coach.
Okay.
And then probably stood in that space for a year and a half. And just in working with coach and somebody else said, you really are about peak performance because it isn't just about health, but it's, about the person in their whole life. And so you probably know this, it's evolutionary. You start out with one name, one logo, then you change it to something else. One of the reasons my business is named after me because my name isn't going to change.
Right.
And I've never been clever to people think of cute names. I can't think of any cute name. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep my name as who I am. So whenever I make those changes, then I work on changing my marketing language to be more targeted to my audience for the thing I'm changing or adding or growing toward. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I agree with you because I think, naming and branding is obviously very important. And I always tell people often ask me like, how should I name my company? And the way I think about it is if you're going to go and build like a conglomerate, like if you're going to build a global coaching business with hiring 1,000 coaches, then you probably want a name for the company, right? But if you're just going to be, your coaching business and you're going to remain as sort of the solopreneur, the business owner, then it allows you to pivot without having to spend tons of money and sort of establishing yourself every time like you said, your business evolves, right?
Yeah. And I can go on Fiverr or something and, for a reasonable price, get someone to do me a new logo and do whatever versus having to invest for a company that you're trying to cover, all these materials and people with. And I'm sure my business is going to take another evolution at some point, and it'll continue to evolve as long as I have it.
So I want to talk a little bit about sort of the ups and downs of the journey, right? So every solopreneur and entrepreneur faces moments of doubt or discouragement. So how do you stay motivated and passionate about your work, especially when you're facing like a challenge or a setback?
I just remind myself to take the long view of it because no doubt there are discouraging moments. There are those moments when you're like, I'm going to run out of money.
Yeah.
There are all those. And I just remind myself that I wouldn't be pursuing this if there wasn't a dream in my heart. And I believe that what I do in the world is part of my purpose in the world. So then I look back at those two things that I wouldn't have a dream if it wasn't possible to realize it. And that I still have many years to go and I want to live out my purpose in life and just keep a long view and that it's going to take time and probably more time than I thought it would for things to be as robust as I want them to be.
Right. No, that's good to remind ourselves of that every day. So many people I talk to sort of even write down their why and keep it with them just so to look at it whenever you need to. But I love that.
The other thing I've done is instead of looking at, I think at the beginning I was looking at it as a singular thing I do, is what other streams of income can I create for myself that are congruent to that? So one of the things that I've added to what I offer is an affiliation with a sales company, a company that does sales training. And it's like, why wouldn't I do that since I have like 30 years in sales? What am I running from that? So it's an opportunity, and it's also an opportunity for me to meet people. I do some speaking. Same thing. I've gotten paid for some speaking or just some speaking, just had the opportunity to sell from the stage. So all those things intersect in my mind. And it's not just one thing. I think without the experience, I pictured, I'll just be, coaching people all the time. But, and I look at other things and people come to me with opportunities. Is that congruent with what I'm doing? Will it feed into what I'm doing and not distract me? And I think a lot of people don't look outside of the kind of one thing they said they were going to do. And a lot of people like me don't look back at this immense background that they bring to the world because, like what they're done with it. And especially those people, I was not unhappy. My company was not a dumpster fire. I just simply internally reached a point of, I think I'm done what I'm supposed to do.
Right. So I love how you sort of make those decisions because you're right. People tend to either go down rabbit holes like, oh, a new revenue stream here, let's go chase that. But I love how you said you look for the intersection of sort of the core and make sure that it complements what you're doing and you're not going off in a different direction. But still, that's a lot, right? You have many different hats. You're a coach, you're a speaker, you're an author, and now you mentioned sales training. How do you manage these diverse responsibilities and maintain a healthy work-life balance, which you talked about a minute ago, that you didn't in the corporate world?
It's funny, things ebb and flow. Sometimes one thing is hotter than the other. So the thing that I tend to spend more time on and the things that's not as hot, I don't spend as much time on. I really do. Like, I don't set myself up. I might go to networking events in the evening or something. I don't set myself up to be working at night. I don't set myself up to work on the weekends unless there's just something I'm trying to accomplish and I need like a big block of time where there's no other commitments. My workouts are part of my day. That's the first thing I do every day. And, that gets done. That's a part of my life and my lifestyle. Being with other people, that's a part of my life and my lifestyle. So I created a lifestyle around the work I do. And, you asked me a question before. I think the other thing people don't realize is, yeah, you do have to grind for a while to build a business. Now, I don't want to grind all the time, but at the beginning, you gotta do some grinding to build a business. But I manage that because I don't ever want to work like I did before. I worked, 60-hour weeks. But yeah, that's not the life I'm trying to build.
No. And when we chatted before, that actually leads me to sort of my next question, but you had mentioned burning out, right? So I want to ask you, though, a slightly different way. So what's the most surprising thing or unexpected thing you've learned about burnout from working with your clients?
Because most people don't recognize that word gets tossed around a lot,
Yeah.
but most people don't recognize how tired they are. Well, one, most high achievers just don't want to admit it. You just, you're a high achiever, you're the badass in everybody's eyes. You're the person they call when something needs to be done. And they don't know that you're sitting at your desk going, I wish I could quit this today. I can't tell you how many people, when I left my company, behind the scenes, like, how are you doing this? How did you do this? How can I do this? I mean, a lot of people were asking me that. And you just know how many people are sitting there going, how can I do something else? Or how can I just be relieved? It's almost like, how can I just be relieved from pain? Because lots of people are in pain, and there comes a point where even the money doesn't satisfy anymore. It's
No.
just,
Yeah. True. And there's only so much you can do with it, right?
only so much you can do with it.
And I've heard so many people tell me that they achieved everything they dreamed of, and yet there's something missing, and they cannot understand why.
There's that emptiness.
Yeah.
And, a lot of highly successful people's relationships fall apart. So they get to that point of, you have all this success, and then you come home and, like, oh, your husband left and there's a Dear John note on the counter, or your family's moved out. Or at that point, marriages and families break up because all of these years have gone by where the job has been the main thing. And in your mind, you're saying, I'm doing this for the family. I'm doing this this nest egg, this vacation home, this kind of college education or whatever. And during that time, the people have actually wanted you to be part of their lives. And people miss a lot.
Yeah, and you can never get that time back, right?
can't.
Or you can't even mend it a lot of the time, sad.
A lot of times you can't mend it. It's done.
But the other thing that's interesting to me is I still feel we know all of this. We've been talking about it for so many years, but there's still such a stigma about admitting burnout or trying to slow down in the corporate world. Why do you think that is?
It's just the culture.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of American culture and American business culture. You just have to keep going. I mean, like I said, literally, you need to kill yourself for this to be really successful. You need to climb higher. You need to do more. And then I've talked to some people past COVID where companies have all these Project Lightspeed or whatever to speed things up for what they perceive they lost in COVID.
Yeah.
And fewer people working, so you get to get more responsibility. And people are just like, I can't even do all this. And no one's listening to people because everything is about making the money Wall Street for most corporations. Very few privately held corporations, most are public. And it's about returning that investment to Wall Street. And I was talking to a few people recently who said, it's really hard to find quality people for jobs, even high-ranking, important jobs, because people don't want to do it anymore. And people younger than us, I forgot the term for it. I was reading about this week. Basically, don't want to go into management.
Oh, really? Wow.
They say, we saw our parents. We don't want to live like that. We don't want to give you that much of ourselves. So in a
Right.
way, they're taking care of themselves in a way that we didn't. I used to be doing whatever my boss asks me to do, whatever the company wants me to do. Oh, can you fly to Miami tomorrow? No problem. Let me go to the travel center and get a ticket.
Yeah.
Can you change this? I know you're planning to do this. Can you change this? Because now we're going to have a meeting on that night. I think people younger than us have watched their parents go through this. And it's, no, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want the pressure. I don't want to be burned out. Lots of people are medicating themselves, numbing themselves, Xanax in the pocket to get through the day. So what kind of life is that?
Yeah, no, it's not really a life, especially the way you just described it. You should you should do a little video, put that out there to say, is this the life that you want?
This the life that you want? Yeah.
Yeah, that you aspire to have. No, I have a lot of respect for Gen Z for doing that because although I mean, I feel like the pendulum always swings, right? We were at that other extreme, like you said. It was like, oh yeah, no problem, fly to Miami today. Doesn't matter, it's Thanksgiving Day, but that's okay. There's another one next year. We were at that extreme, right? And these guys are maybe at the other extreme, but I think you kind of have to do that to get back to the center, I hope.
To regulate to the center.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I think that's what we have to do. So there was something you mentioned to me, which I loved, which was how you sort of, and I forgive me if I, mess up your words, but how you sort of make your calendar your slave rather the other way around. Could you talk a little bit about that?
I'm a calendar nerd.
Yeah.
And I really do put everything in my calendar because I need to manage my time. Like there are these few different things I'm doing. I need to manage my time with family, with friends. So literally my workouts are in my calendar. My cycling on the weekend or I'm cycling during the week, whatever, it's in my calendar. If I'm going out with people, socializing, it's in my calendar. It's whatever I'm doing every day is in my calendar. And that's kind of my guide. And then last year I discovered this calendar. Do you know Jesse Itzler?
No, I don't.
He's an entrepreneur. He's an interesting guy. So Jesse Itzler and Sarah Blakeslee are married. She's the owner. She's the creator. Right?
Oh, okay.
He's created a bunch of different business, airline, marketing, all this stuff. But he has the thing, big ass calendar. And it's like 36 by 48, but it lays out the year in a linear.
Okay.
And his encouragement is use that to plan your life. So what are you going to do with your life this year? Put your vacation on there first. Because most people don't think about their vacation. They'd be like, well, we're going to find time to get away for 2 weeks this year. Put that on there. Choose something big to do. He's a runner. And he's done all these like ultra events. He's like, pick something big and scary to do. Go climb a mountain or run a marathon or something and put that on there. And then what are all the milestones happening in the lives of people you love? Put those on there. Birthdays. What's the time you're going to devote to your spouse or your children? Put that on there. And you start filling up the calendar with your first. And then work goes on your desktop calendar or whatever. So I use my calendar. It also helps me. I had to learn to say no because I used to double and triple book myself by saying yes to too many people. So it also lets me look at that to set boundaries and say, I'm not available. Or to choose to say I'm not available because I don't want to be available for that thing or that date or that activity.
Yeah. No, I love that. And you said it's called a big ass calendar? Is that what he called it?
Big ass calendar. Yeah. Just Google it. You'll see him.
I have to use that.
Yeah.
Also, what I love about the way you use your calendar is that it reminds me of something my mother always told me. She told me years ago, she was like, you can never find time for anything. You have to make time for whatever's important for you because time you will never find.
Yes.
It's the most precious commodity we have, right? And the least of everything.
And so it's boundary setting like that. And in some cases, it's boundary setting to your boss in your company and people think they're going to get fired for that, or they think they're not going to promote me because I said no to this. But I think sometimes these people need to be told, no,
Yeah.
I can't. No, I won't change my family's vacation because somebody decided to have a meeting. Yeah, sorry. No, I won't work on vacation. But I used to encourage the people on my teams, like, refer your customers to me. This is a company with a lot of smart people. If the customer has a problem, we will figure out how to help them, as opposed to you working every day on vacation and your family, everybody's frustrated with you. One person came back from vacation because that hadn't been like the management stance before and said, you know what, I just want to thank you for encouraging me not to work and not even take my computer. And some of it's, we feel our own importance. I can't miss that. I can't miss being seen. I can't miss being seen as the person who's putting in some effort. And honestly, none of that's true.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And again,
We
forgive
do
me.
it to ourselves.
Yeah, we do. And it reminds me of another thing my mother once told me about how important I was like, oh, I have to be at that meeting. She's like, get a bucket of water, put your hand in it, pull it out. Now the hole that remains is how important you are.
Oh, your mom is on the
Shit.
I want to
She
be
was a
her.
wise woman. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true. You know, I used to tell people, it's like, if you get hit by a bus today, we're going to be sad. We're going to console your family. And somebody's going to be having a meeting in an hour saying, can we take care of Gina's customer? You just got hit by a bus. Just know that you can be said, the world won't end, and we'll take care of the business. The business is going to be taken care of by somebody. And I saw a meme one time. It said, they'll post your job before they post your obituary.
Yes. True.
And that's really, really true.
Yeah, it is very true.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, Steve Jobs is not around, but Apple is going from strength to strength, right? The companies go on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you now, Gina, if you could offer one piece of advice to somebody wanting to start their solopreneur journey or entrepreneur journey, what would you say to them?
I would say to slow down and get guidance from someone who's done what you want to do. That's going to be realistic with you, so you understand that you're going to be going.
Yeah, no, that's great. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners that we haven't covered today?
I mean, I would say if you have a dream, go for it. But just go for it. Go for it wisely. You know, go for it in preparation. Have, a year or two of money set aside. Because it could take you that long to start making money. Don't believe all the marketing stuff. You could literally really start taking you that long. So then if you begin to run out of money, then you're in survival panic mode. And then, I mean, realistically, you might need to get a job.
Right.
So make sure you're making a thoughtful plan, and not just one of those, I'm going to go off and do what makes me happy, or, these people have anchored me so much and I can't take it anymore. I'm just leaving. That really doesn't usually suit people very.
True. Yeah. Or start with the side hustle, right? I tell a lot of young people,
Side hustle.
while you're still
Yeah.
being paid and you're learning and you've got security, build until you're ready to make that leap, like you said.
Yeah. And sometimes people think they're going to like doing something, and then they start doing it and they go, wow, I thought I was going to love this. I really hate it. So the side hustle idea is great. Do it a little bit. You might find that you love it, or it's not really what I wanted to do. So then you have to weigh everything to do something you don't really want to do. I don't want a franchise. I get, LinkedIn things all the time about, I'm a great candidate for a franchise. I really have no interest in owning a franchise. Maybe I could be a millionaire if I got a franchise, but I have no interest in that. So I know the things I'm not interested in doing, which is another good idea. Like, have your I'm not doing list or not interested list. So you're very definite about, you know what? I know I'm not doing that. And I don't have an interest in it, no matter how much it is. Because money's not everything.
No, no. And you're just sort of trading up one shackle for another if you do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. So I love to end with a little rapid fire round. I'm just going to throw a couple of questions at you.
Okay.
So if you had to describe your coaching style in 3 words, what would they be?
They would be direct, loving, fun.
Love it. Love those 3 words. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done outside of work?
I haven't jumped out of a plane yet. Lived outside of the country for 5 years.
Okay. Where?
I lived 2 years in Germany and 3 years in England.
That's cool. What if your entrepreneurial journey was a military operation? What would be its code name?
Codename Determination.
Determination. That's good. If your business was a superhero, what would its superpower be?
It's helping people see.
See?
Yes, helping them gain clarity, really see.
That's a good way to end our show. So, Gina, thank you so much for being on the show and for sharing your story and all the wisdom that you did today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Nikhil.
That wraps up another episode of Unfiltered Solopreneur. I would love to hear your thoughts about today's conversation. Let's continue the discussion in the comments below or on LinkedIn at Boost Solo. If you're looking to connect with like-minded solopreneurs and take your business to the next level, join our Boost Solo community. And if you're ready to turn your expertise into a story that sells, book a free strategy session at boostsolo.com. Remember, your story is your most valuable asset. Live solo or die corporate.